So starting at the very top here, we have the part one. So report is actually broken up into two separate sections. The part one is the basic curriculum, and that is the first 21 pages of the report. What I plan with the first 21 pages of this report is not necessarily writing all of this stuff, but more along the lines of curating the topics that is provided to you. So I personally believe that a lot of my time over the past 6-7 years has been wasted. There was just too much time spent on things that had no fruitful results and had no bearing on on a future result in general. So hopefully I'm able to cut some of that out for you. And if I stop saying enough, maybe you can listen and extrapolate something useful from this report. So I'll start from the top. Part 1, basic curriculum, page 1 through 21. We'll start with the introduction, where to start, and the types of market analysis. This is important to me because I spearhead technical analysis. I've had partners who have honestly a more genuine understanding of foreign exchange markets than me, and they purely focus fundamental theory. This is not my forte. I don't study economical data. I don't study GDP. I don't study crude oil. I don't study any data that might impact. Now, I do personally believe that it does influence the main thing that I work with, but that's covered later on. So I talked about the principles that drive price action, technical theory as a whole, quantitative analysis, the types of assets you trade, financial leverage. This is all bundled together, and I quickly explain these things because there's no need for me to fully extend my personal opinions on the matter. It's more of a wheel that's already been defined. There's no need to recarve that wheel, right? There's no need to redefine what's been already well said. So I leave that up to Investopedia and other external resources to cover these particular subjects just as a whole, so you can get a basic understanding of it. Later on, you can see what I think and what it means to me to be a technical trader and what it means to be a quantitative analyst. So yeah. Quickly, we'll dive into pips and units. What are lots, major currency pairs, basic market vocabulary, just so you can understand some of the things that we're talking about in a little bit more of a intermediate understanding. The types of charting software that's usable, time frames, obviously, candlesticks, candlestick patterns, trends, whole number support, establishing trend lines, which this all sounds very basic, right? But this is more of an advanced approach to these topics. Traditionally, these are very basic, but the whole point of this dissertation and this theory and this harmonic theory dissertation, I should repeat myself, is what do these topics mean to a harmonic trader? What do they mean? How do they assist in becoming a better harmonic trader? So that's kind of like the whole point, right? So that's like me retouching on these topics with my personal opinions on how it can make you a more profitable and more statistically reproducible harmonic trader, or just a trader in whole. Like I personally believe that harmonics is not the only end all be all. It's any system that you study that you can statistically reproduce will bear fruits or bear results, and your ability to reproduce those results is completely dependent on the amount of time and effort you put into understanding that particular theory. So I don't think harmonics in general is just like you need to do harmonics, otherwise you won't make money. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous, and I know deep down that would just be hypocritical for me to say. There's no such thing as any one end-all be-all for solution for market trading. But this is something I see value in, and the one thing that drew me to harmonics was the amount of time investment return comparatively to the amount of time you had to stress and put yourself emotionally into the market. It was very disconnected. Once you can follow these patterns, once you can follow everything, and it becomes muscle memory. There's no more guesswork. It's all just established theory. It's all a simple set of guidelines. It's all just there's no thinking, to be fair. So that takes a little while to comprehend or understand, but I'd like to get more into that a little bit later. Now, if I can continue on with time frames, candlesticks, patterns, whole number support. Again, very important relative to harmonic theory. This is all just these are very basic topics, but just covered in a more complex the way, I guess. I don't really know how to fully word that. Establishing trend lines, support and resistance, basic technique and geometrical patterns. Now this is also important because these basic technical patterns that you learn in the first few weeks of maybe the school of Pipsology, these actually play critical roles in understanding Gartley, advanced Fibonacci, Gartley, and bat patterns later on. So it's like a domino effect. You push over the small domino and it leads to the bigger dominoes. But these bigger dominoes wouldn't be falling without the little domino to begin with. So it's hard to explain, but I guess that's the best way I can attempt to do that. Candlestick pattern variance, triangle variance, flag variance, wedge variance, double top, triple tops. Again, these are all basic and intermediate pattern trading patterns that you see while trading harmonics, that what you see while just doing your day-to-day analysis. So it's important to have understanding of these intermediate patterns, because they will be just developing as you identify harmonic fractals and other various advanced patterns. Double and triple top, bottom, head, and shoulders. Again, the pattern confluence with the above. So pretty much confluence is just how these work together, how they can work together to produce a similar result. It's not about combining them to just be like, oh, this is cool. How can they actually point to a relative result together to make a meaningful analysis? It's sort of like the next step, I guess, if that makes sense as well. Following that, we have intro to technical indicators, intro to divergence, intro to confluence, intro to price action theory, intro to risk management, intro to Fibonacci, calculating the Fibonacci extensions, the basic harmonic patterns that I like to use, possible reversal zones, PRZs, which again is that in itself could be almost its own report. Each one of these could be its own report, starting after any of the intros and below. Pretty much could be its own report, honestly. Calculating take profit and stop loss. That's its own report. Gans theory, Elliott's theory, Fibonacci theory, risk management theory, price action, bat advanced pattern, butterflies, alternative butterflies, alternative bats. Yeah, cipher, advanced ciphers. It gets pretty sticky pretty quickly, but my goal is to try to explain this as diligently and as concisely as possible. And this is all part one, the basic curriculum. So this is me attempting to get you up to par so that you can understand what I'm trying to talk about. This is not the dissertation. This is the basic curriculum. Right? So this is actually just me trying to set up the dissertation, if that makes sense. The actual dissertation is still a work in progress, but I'll attempt to describe I can't even fold this. I'll just let that be. So starting from the top, we have harmonics and leverage management phase system. This is me taking a statistical approach to understanding the yields and profits associated with harmonic trading on an Excel basis. So I'm able to lay out weekly averages, quarterly averages. I'm able to weigh out everything. I'm able to use formulas to identify weighted averages to calculate, possible returns. Now, these aren't guaranteed returns, but these are very, 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 very statistically reproducible returns that have been proven over large statistical samples of data. Now, that's up for me to prove, and I'm not trying to red pill any individual person on what I think about that. But that's just me speaking on the matter, and that's just like, I don't expect anybody to care about that whatsoever, but that's why I'm here. So I'm here to prove what I've studied. The next is taking a neologistical approach to explaining harmonic theory, because harmonic theory on its own is relatively untouched. Scott Carney touched on Gartley's work, and it's just been like sort of like that. The most other well-defined individual in harmonic studies I've met is Alexander Nikitin, and he's a Russian fellow, and he's been my unknown mentor. He doesn't even know who I am, but I've been studying under him for years, and we sort of drifted apart when we had different opinions about alternative patterns and how that would be approached and how that would be implicated into the theory. And also the assets that harmonics were used on. I strictly believe that harmonics do not function properly with cryptocurrency, and that is just my personal understanding and my personal experience. And he very much so thinks the opposite. So that's just you're crazy if you're trying to do anything other than currency swaps with harmonics. That's all I gotta say. Common harmonic vocabulary. So that's going to be covering some of the things that I'll be talking about, so you can actually understand some of the stuff in the second section, the second part, the dissertation itself. Self-defined vocabulary. This is going to be things and nuances and empirical observations I've noticed myself that I'd like to capitalize on. Things such as like subsequent fractals and superseding fractals, overarching fractals, and just various little things I've noticed that I'd like to point out, so that it's not as like confusing or repetitive when I talk about it every time. Identifying the nuances and inconsistencies of harmonic theory. This is touching on the loss issues and the reproduction issues of using something like Fibonacci ratios and advanced complex ABCDX patterns. Fundamentally assist harmonic patterns. This touches on fundamental data and economical data and how it impacts harmonics as a whole. So this is, again, almost an entire report in itself. I wish there was a way to properly describe how important each one of these bullet points were. But right now it's just a work in progress, I guess. That's all I could say. Harmonic fractals, that's pretty much my primary work in itself. In fact, I'm working on my own personal theory, which is harmonic fractals theory. It's a subsequent theory. It's a work in progress theory based off Elliott's wave counting theory, that each wave is countable and is a response or a impulse of its superseding wave, or its overarching wave, that they're countable based on a series of cycles and supercycles and various factors. So it's kind of like counting cards in blackjack, except I believe personally that harmonics are a additional tool that you can use to compound on Elliott's. Besides counting waves, you can count retracements of harmonics to essentially identify areas of high value, high reproducing value of reversal. So like, I'd like to capitalize more on that later, but that's my brainchild is harmonic fractals theory, right? So we'll just leave it at that, I guess. Fundamentally, it's just discovering what adds confluence to a harmonic system. This is important to me. I've spent a lot of time on this over 6, 7, 8 months, and I'd like to share what I think with that when I get more into it. Harmonic fractals, and risk management. Applying risk management with harmonic fractals is something of its own that, again, is very, very complex. It just takes a little bit of muscle memory to understand, and just seeing it in person to be able to identify those situations where you might see a fractal. You might see it at the top of an upward anti-trend, and you're gonna look at that anti-harmonic, and you're gonna just have this gut feeling that it's not right. It's not going to work. Part of the issue with harmonics is there's no actual set in stone statistical numbers you can follow. You can't just enter it in a calculator and just look, and it's just not a yes or no. Part of it is like, in your heart and in your brain. You have to look at it and you have to like have this inner feeling. And not only that, we have to be able to reproduce that inner feeling dozens, if not hundreds of times. So you have to train your mind and your soul to be able to identify these inconsistencies and these issues. That's the biggest separation and issue people have with harmonics, and the reason why it gets such a bad rep is that it's near impossible to perfect, at least from a traditional standpoint. And a lot of the time people try to like apply these unrealistic expectations to harmonics, when really it's just a matter of exercising proper risk management and price action theory and just whatnot. So I really think that it's not as pixie dust as you think. It's really actually just a matter, like I said, with any technical theory is going to be profitable as long as you apply proper risk management theory and proper technical analysis. Excuse my rambling, but you know what I'm trying to say at this point. Hopefully, I really hope you do. Discovering what adds confluence to a harmonic system, harmonic fractals, and risk management. Preceded antifractal, bullish and bearish patterns. Now, preceded antifractals are, again, a little brainchild of mine that helped me stray away from these bad patterns. So you never want to be trading a bullish pattern at the top of a bearish trend. It sounds so simple, right? But after seeing enough of these trades, you start to see these reproducible results, and you have to act on them. That's all I have to say. So these are all just like the result of my empirical studies. Preceded antifractals, again, are defined in my self-defined vocabulary section. Take profit confluence, so that's using price action theory and existing preceded fractals to add some sort of historical confluence to a PRZ. So that's a relatively simple zone or a simple topic. Using multiple time frame analysis as harmonic confluence, identifying harmonic trends within ranging markets, what's learned from historical harmonic data. It's not about your market predictions, statistically reproducing results, harmonic exposure, harmonic recovery. Now, these two topics, harmonic exposure and harmonic recovery, very, 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 very big issues with harmonics, and it's not talked about anywhere. This is a personally noted issue. The market needs time to correct after a period of time with high fruitful harmonic responses. I've noticed that period of time can be upwards of 7-15 days, and if you attempt to trade during this time of recovery, that you'll lose near all gains. This is designed to throw off harmonic traders, maybe not necessarily harmonic traders, but just traders as a whole. And I think everything is so heavily ingrained that harmonic traders lose as a subsequent result of this market action, this correction. But and nonetheless, the way to avoid it is by identifying these recovery and these exposure zones. You just want to basically not take as much, just don't take it for granted. Take your high earning weeks, take the following week off, let those new patterns develop, let those new retracements develop. Don't get lucky. Don't swap the time frame to a 1 hour. Don't swap the time frame to a 30-minute just to get more patterns so that you can pad your results. That's not what it's about. Take the wins for those week. It might be 15, it might be 35 days, right? And you might end up with a lower monthly average than your previous average because the recovery ended up taking longer than normal. And you might not want to let that happen to a 500 pip week. It is what it is. Sometimes you have to split that 500 pip week into a whole month because the rest of the month was a recovery month. And instead of just losing those 500 pips, now you're just at zero for the whole month because you decided to play that recovery month, and you just literally span for 30 days. So that in itself, again, is like an entire report. I wish it was possible to fully convey the nuances regarding that. Risk management's role in a successful trading analysis, intra-market currency pair correlations, speculative cryptocurrency correlations, all good stuff. Historical harmonics and position entries, the importance of learning from mistakes, creating a harmonic system that can work indefinitely, allowing harmonic theory to thrive, visualizing the market as only harmonics and fractals. Now this is actually starting to get near towards my harmonic fractals theory, and this is visualizing entire market. You can see here actually in the background of my desktop. This is like starting to visualize every wave and every response as a harmonic. Everything is a subsequent fractal, as an overarching fractal. This is the way to count waves and to count statistical reproduction, in my personal opinion. Visualizing the market as only intramarket harmonic correlations. That's sort of like the same thing. So yeah, that is the curriculum basics. I'd like to cover the actual part 1 here in the next video, but hopefully that was enough. So we'll see you here in the next section. See you soon. Bye-bye.